Patch 1.2.1 just dropped. It's the first patch with Olympia in it, and it has some balance changes for her and the rest of the cast, as well as some general changes to the ECB changes we saw last patch. I'm pretty excited to go through this one, so let's go ahead and get started. To kick us off, they start with the Badger Co bundle. Badger Co Olympia comes out today in our latest mid-month bundle. This includes the Badger Co Olympia skin, emote, icon, and deconstruction death effect, plus coins and bucks. This skin also includes unique voiceover lines for its taunt and victory sequence. If y'all don't know, this skin is taken from the Dungeons of Aether game, which is super fun. I really like the glasses, because it's from like the Squirtle Squad kind of looking glasses, so I'll definitely be picking this one up. I'm a big Squirtle fan. They say, this skin was originally revealed during the Twitch Rivals of Aether 2 team battle event. Check out the VOD, I'll link it down below, and they say, to catch 4 teams of creators led by Rivals pros to battle for the crown. This event was like really fun to watch. Sadly some of the like audio mics and like balance wasn't done correctly. So like people like Dan are like really quiet where like other creators are really loud. So it can be kind of hard to like understand what some people are saying, but it's like such a fun watch if you're looking for like a casual, like fun little bracket, you know? They say, a little main menu UI update. The main menu now shows your most recent platform used in tandem with character and skin. This actually snuck into a recent hotfix, but we wanted to make sure to get it listed in the official notes too. So this is kind of cool. I noticed my little arcane dude was on his water platform recently, which I like a lot. Hey, just hopping in here, not just to ask you to like, comment, subscribe, and all that fun stuff, but to tell you about my last stock Wi-Fi power rankings that are happening right now. I run Wi-Fi weeklies every Thursday, and I thought it was kind of a shame that players only got celebrated on that week's top 8 graphic. So, I'll be hosting a Wi-Fi power rankings that'll go as long as each ranked season. This current ranked season is set to end July 1st, so the power rankings will run until then. The top 10 players calculated by my system, which rewards players for attending lots of brackets but allows you to miss a few without losing points, will be featured on a cool PR graphic with some neat art, similar to what I did for my local scene a few months ago. I run all my tournaments through StartGG, which are always linked in my Discord, which is linked down below. I hope y'all will check it out, but if not, that's all good. Let's go ahead and get back to the video. For gameplay and balance updates, they say, we recently added the dynamic environmental collision boxes changes to the game, which allow characters to behave more naturally when interacting near objects and the ground. While we initially did a lot of testing, we know the change was too broad to catch everything off the bat. This is kind of gonna be how it works for every, like, major system change, right? Like, there's not really any way to guarantee that every interaction in every situation will be 100% as intended, you know? Like, I know whenever they did the audio changes, like, there was like a random, like, Forsburn voice line that was really quiet, and it's like, how would you catch that? There's like hundreds of voice lines in the game, you know? And obviously it got fixed in the next patch. But this is probably what we'll be seeing here, just small little fixes like that. They continue to say though, a decent amount of changes to general mechanics and characters this patch involve corrections related to the ECB changes. Beyond the ECB fixes, we have some changes to chain grab protection, a few changes related to landing interactions, and a few character updates. Chain grab protection will now last an extra 5 frames after being disabled unless you start an attack. This allows you to start an action without instantly making yourself vulnerable to chain grabs. This is especially useful when landing before getting grabbed again, since doing nothing will leave you in hit stun land state longer than if you cancel into another action. Crag down throw often forces this interaction. This is a good change. I feel like the chain grab protection has a lot of ways to circumvent it, so this will kind of just like protect it a little bit more and make chain grab work as intended. They also say, you can now land while rising near the peak of your trajectory arc. This prevents situations where you would pass through the ground if your environmental collision box bottom collided with a platform, where you're still rising and then never went above the platform again. So I think this is kind of like if you're below a platform and you try to jump up onto it, you'll actually land on it, even if the platform is near the peak of your jump, right? I assume this would happen on like Hodojo 3rd platform with your double jump, but it could probably also happen with characters who have like shorter full hops, like maybe Raster, I'm not too sure. They then go on to say that they fixed a bug that would cause characters to fall through platforms when they end up right above a platform while falling as their ECB gets taller. I haven't seen this one in game, but that's pretty interesting. I saw some people talking about grabs and like falling through platforms, so maybe this has to do with that. They then go on to say that the ECB bottom can no longer go lower than the character's origin. This prevents players falling through platforms if their ECB bottom unfreezes on a frame or is below the character's origin. So this would be like if the bottom of the character is tracked to be below the platform, which would then mean that they would be below the platform and they would fall. So that will not happen anymore. They also go on to say that landing while non-tumble hit stun will now give a maximum of 8 frames of hit stun landing. This makes it less punishing when landing after weak medium hits. This does not apply when you are spiked into the ground, i.e. Arcane Dare, and will most likely only affect extremely low angle moves, like Zetterburn neutral special or Loxodont forward tilt hit 1. So this is kind of interesting. You're kind of like capped out at how much like advantage you can get from non-tumble hit stun. I'm curious to see how this applies across the board. I think that Zetterburn and Loxodont can still combo here. But I wonder if like capping it at 8 frames means they can't combo into certain options, right? So let's say if there's like a high risk, high reward option you could do out of like neutral special, which like high risk on Zetterburn is like kind of corny to say, but like Lox, like maybe you could do like something out of the tilt hit that they weren't intending for you to do and get a punish. Also sometimes they do make a patch change that doesn't make a lot of sense, so like maybe this one will make sense right now and maybe I'm reading too much into it. But the patch change at the time, like, it doesn't make any sense, and then a new character comes out, and you're like, oh, okay, that was because you were testing that character internally, and then you made a change due to that character's mechanics, right? So maybe character number 3 has, like, something that interacts with this change. But that's to see. For a bug fix, though, they say, non-tumble spikes on aerial opponents will no longer reduce their hit stun by half. There were a lot of cases where opponents, right above the ground, would get spiked into the ground, and become actionable before the moves they were hit by finished due to this hit stun reduction. This change makes sure that spikes are better against opponents right above the ground, and will instead give a smaller advantage to spiking them while grounded. So this is pretty interesting. I wasn't aware that this was a bug, but I'm curious to see how many like combo routes this opens up for calling out people like jumping and then getting a spike on them for doing that. So this is pretty cool to see. For Zetterburn, they say, Zetterburn is getting a quality of life change for tap jump controls. Neutral Special will now listen for jump inputs during hit pause. Previously, tap jump users had a shorter buffer for jump canceling the move, since joystick hard presses aren't stored for as long in the buffer input. This keeps things consistent between control schemes. I actually didn't know that joystick inputs weren't stored as long for the buffer like Q, so that's pretty cool to see. I'm glad that characters are getting quality of life changes. Ranno is getting 2 changes that allow him to cancel neutral special with grab again, and will help him use tongue sling above platforms a lot more consistently. Neutral special can now be cancelled by pressing the grab button again. This was unintentionally removed in one of the hotfix patches, where many attacks that can be cancelled by pressing shield were normalized. Forward special will now freeze his ECB bottom for the first 10 frames of tongue sling. This prevents him from unintentionally cancelling the tongue sling by landing on a platform. I think these are both really good changes, but they're not really going to make Ranno, like, stronger, per se, right? They just kind of, like, smooth out his gameplay. They're more quality of life buffs than they are, like, actual gameplay buffs, right? He's not going to be killing you earlier, he's just going to play more smoothly. Moving on to Loxodont, they say that Loxodont is getting a few changes to his forward tilt that make the move function similarly to how it did before the universal ECB changes, which affected landing timings. Forward Tilt 1's ASD multiplier has been increased to 1.5, and then Forward Tilt hit 1 knockback angle has been changed from 150 to 160. The addition of the dynamic ECBs made some opponents take longer to land after getting hit by this move. This change makes the move function similar to how it did prior to the ECB changes. This kind of just like increases like counterplay to this move, and I assume that's why we got the change over here. I wasn't aware that the ECB change made Loxodont F tilt so much different, but that's interesting to see that they like found like a niche way that the ECB interacted with the game that they didn't intend, and they removed it. So cool to see the devs like acknowledging that like, okay, we missed something, we're going to go back and fix it. For Forsburn though, they say that Forsburn is getting a bug fix to his clone's recovery, which will make it SD less often. For the bug fix though, they just say that Clone will no longer up special off stage right before landing on stage after recovering. So this will make it a little bit trickier to tell which one's like Forsburn and which one's the clone. This one is pretty easy to spot because the clone does recover in the same ways a lot of the time. So I think that it's pretty interesting that they're like looking at that and buffing the clone's AI just a little bit. Moving on to Etalus, they say, Etalus is getting some love to his roll distance and get up attack to help a bit with his disadvantaged state. I love to see Etalus get some love because he's such a cool character, but he's clearly like not in the best spot still. I think he's definitely viable and strong, but little micro buffs to him are always welcome. For his roll speed, they've increased it from 28 to 32, his tech roll speed from 29 to 31, his get up roll speed from 27 to 30, and his ledge roll speed from 26 to 28. His width made him especially vulnerable to shield pressure and tech chasing. The increased speed will in turn increase the distance of his rolls a bit, making him a little more difficult to stay on top of. I really like this change because obviously if you're a large character, right, you're always going to have like a rough disadvantage. But getting better tools like this will help him kind of combat people who are tech chasing him only because he's big, and only let people get reward if they're tech chasing because they actually have like a good reaction time against him, you know? So if you're really good at tech chasing, this should not bother you too much, I wouldn't imagine. But if you're kind of bad at tech chasing and you're kind of just like abusing the fact that he's a little miss big, you're going to definitely have a harder time against him. So that's me. For his get up attack, innermost hitbox, it's been changed from 40 centimeters to 60 centimeters. This prevents it from whiffing against small characters at specific spacing. I'm kind of glad about this because get up attack is like pretty weak and it's kind of always been a little bit inconsistent, so hopefully this smooths that over just a little bit. Moving on to what we've all been waiting for Olympia, they say, Olympia's release 2 weeks ago has been exciting for us as an influx of new and returning players have jumped at the chance to try out the Amethyst Fist. We've been monitoring community reception, tournaments, and have been playing a lot of Olympia ourselves with the intention of finding a perfect spot for her balance. We feel that she has plenty of power, but that we don't want to overswing on changes since she is so new. And there's still a lot to learn both in her meta and in her counterplay. That being said, there's a few things we want to hit in this mid-month update. I do agree with this, like I feel like whenever a character's new, you definitely want to be really careful not to overswing, because metas are still developing, right? Let's say if you hit Olympia with lots of nerfs, right, and then people also find her counterplay in the same week, then suddenly she feels terrible and it's like, okay, why'd we add a new character just to make them unplayable, you know? So, I'm definitely glad that they have this approach to a new character, but let's see what they changed. They say, the up special linking hitbox radius has been shrunk from 60 centimeters to 50. We're shrinking the hitbox of this move to require tighter spacing, since it's such a powerful finisher. I like this idea a lot, since it kind of means you have to space your like combos a little bit better. You won't get rewarded if you're a bit more sloppy. So that's nice to see. The neutral special gem toss knockback angle has been changed from 90 to 75. This increases the effectiveness of DI out against this move. I'm also glad to see this one because it felt like neutral special gem toss, like once it hits you, you're gonna get hit by something else, but it looks like here they nerfed its follow-up, saying the gem dash startup has been changed from 4 frames to 6. This attack was an extremely potent follow-up after Olympia hit with gem toss, while also being an extremely strong recovery tool. The increased startup makes it a little harder to combo into, while also giving opponents more time to intercept it off stage. I'm really happy to see this because I feel like a lot of Olympia's power in neutral, especially at higher levels, came from this move, and just being able to threaten it by having gem like not on the field. So seeing this move get tuned down just a little bit is good to see. For the gem field though, they say gem field's broken duration goes from 2 seconds to 3 seconds. This increases the reward for breaking Olympia's gem field both on stage and during her recovery. I'm not sure if other people agree with me on this, but I feel like this is a pretty big nerf. I know whenever Forsburn got his clone taken from 2 seconds to 3 seconds, a lot of Forsburns felt pretty bad about it. So I wonder how Olympia mains are going to respond to this one. If you are an Olympia main though, let me know. I'm curious what you think. For the next patch, they say, For's special intangibility while slamming an opponent has gone from 30 frames to 20 frames. This was kind of crazy, so I'm glad to see it's being tuned down. She gains intangibility here to protect her opponents that wall tech after getting hit by the move while edgeguarding Olympia. 30 frames ended up being a bit excessive, since Olympia is actionable after only 15, so we're shortening it a bit. I do definitely think this was like a good thing to include in her kit to give her those iframes, since there's a lot of instances in like Smash Bros, right, where Ganondorf will up B you tech the stage, and you hit him for it, right? Which is like definitely annoying, and it probably should not be an ultimate. So seeing this not be in Rivals 2, like even at launch, like they were thinking about that, that's good, but it definitely was too strong at 30. Moving on though, they also say, Forward Special no longer gets intangibility when slamming an opponent into the ground. The intangibility made this attack too difficult to punish in doubles and free-for-all. So this means that now the intangibility will only happen off stage, and it's 20 frames less. So overall, the intangibility is a little bit worse, so she doesn't get free reward for landing her forward special, which is good. Down tilt is also now auto floor huggable. This is a really good change, but they go on to say, the speed of this move made performing a timed floor hug pretty unreliable, when it is generally the best counterplay to the attack. I think this is like super important. I was talking about in my Olympia Mastery Guide how you can kind of just like mash this move for free sometimes. So seeing that it's auto floor huggable now is a great change. Up throw's knockback has also been changed. They say that we're increasing the knockback scaling to make it send opponents further away at high percents. I haven't tested this change personally, but I think it's a really good change in general since up throw kind of comboed at every percent more or less. Since it has like so much hit stun and so little knockback even at high percents. So it's always a great move to use, which probably was not the intention. For bug fixes though, they say neutral specials projectile will no longer trade with opponents. They also say that Gem Field can now be hit by hit grabs, so Etalus' up air and Raster down special will break the gem, and forward special will now prevent chain grabs when slamming an opponent. This is actually kind of a big change, because something that I actually did a lot, this is kind of trolly. I would forward special, and then I'd do kind of like I'd wait to see if my opponent air dodged, or if they did a weird action, and I'd just forward special again as long as they didn't attack, you know? And I'd kind of just loop forward special across the stage, so I'm kind of sad to see this one's gone. But yeah, this is pretty interesting. I wonder how this actually interacts, if it prevents chain grabs with normal grabs, or just with forward special. So, we'll see what that one actually does. But overall, I like these notes a lot. I feel like nothing huge got changed except for Olympia, but the ECB fixes should make the game feel a lot smoother. And this should definitely feel more closely to what the devs wanted for the entire ECB changes, instead of last patch where some things felt a little bit clunky sometimes, especially on those platforms. Thanks so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos from me, I have a playlist of all my Rivals 2 content on the screen right now. I know you'll find something that you love, so be sure to check it out. Bye for now!